All right, 1955, the War on Espionage. I needed something light, and this is clearly a nice little two-player filler that I want to go into. This is sort of a minimalist CDG. This is about as involved a version of the CDG mechanism that can possibly be made. The only step that could be lower, I think, is to get rid of the board. But to tell you the truth, if you did that, the board is just a scoring track. It's like in cribbage almost. A number of people have covered this before. They probably will give you a better overview. But like I said, I needed a bit of filler to take the place, and this was on my mind recently. The rules are kind of iffy here. That's what I say about everything, right? In this particular case, the laughable thing is essentially, for example, here under combining cards, they go through an example of how you can do it, and then a lot of examples that don't work. And I mean, they're along the lines of, you know, if you're going to make an omelet, here's what you should do, and then don't shave the cat over the omelet. Don't use a food processor to chop up your toaster oven. I mean, it's just, yes, there are things that have to do with the game, but they're totally random in terms of, yeah, you can't do this, you can't do this. And there's more negative examples than positive, as if they're trying to actually enumerate all the possible things that you could get wrong here. But other than that, the game is simple enough that that doesn't much matter. What you get is this simple track, a couple of pawns that are going to be your spies, these markers that are going to be for your home country control, and they indicate where your home country is, and these are going to indicate where on the political spectrum, or not so much the spectrum, but in terms of the victory over the government in those countries and adherence to your own way, that you have put those other countries. A bunch of, yeah, I stated that really weirdly. A bunch of cards. This is going to be all one big shared deck that gets shuffled together, even though it looks like some of the cards are aligned with one side and the other. And that's about it. Okay. What do we got? So at the beginning of the game, one player is going to be first, however at random, and I believe he gets a pile of cards. How many cards do you get? 5 cards for your starting hand. Okay. After you look at your 5 cards, you get to choose a home country. If your home country is blue, you will be, or is one of the blue ones, you will be the blue spy, and then the other, or blue country, and then the other player has to choose a home country from among the other color. There are advantages and strong reasons why you might want to be the United States or the Soviet Union. All these markers are going to go in the center spaces, except for the colored markers for the home power. They're going to be shifted one in the direction of that player. So for example, if we had the Soviet Union and the United States, which is quite likely, we're going to see something like this as our initial setup. And the goal of the game is to get 3 of these cubes locked into your side stars. Once you do that, you win. However, if you manage to get your opponent's home country locked into your side stars, you win that way as well. So you basically have 2 methods to do this: a direct attack on the home country and subverting that, or an attack to get a majority, which could just, well, which could just be your side locked in. On the first turn of the game, things are a little different than on the second. Basically, the first player, the guy who picked first, will be making 1 card play. and then he gets to refill his hand and move his spy. On normal turns, you get to make 2 card plays. Now, a card play in most CDGs is, hey, you play a card, you either take the event or you take the operations points. Well, in this, there are some little modifications to that core idea. What a card play is going to be is, well, you have the event, which you simply follow the event. For example, any turn, move your spy to any country. Does not count as a card play. Ooh. So if you play it as a special action, it doesn't actually count as your card play, and you can do other things. But the core for a card play, and this one would allow you to discard your hand and refill it, which could be useful if you're, especially if your hand's been pillaged. But the core of a card play is to play a set of cards. But the base idea is 1 card for its value, which will modify one of these tracks. You have some limitations on what tracks you can play on, though. And that general core, I have to find it in here. I don't want to read all the rules. The general thing is an influence card play. You're allowed to always play an influence card in its own country. So this could always be played in Britain to move the cube, presumably 2 spaces in Britain, which would be over here. If your spy happens to be in that country, you get to add 1 point to the number on the card, or you can combine it with other British cards. So for example, if I had these 2 in my hand, I could play them and move it 4. If I had more British cards in my hand, I could get higher and higher scores, shifting it all the way over all at once. Of course, I only have 5 cards in my hand. But if I only have 1, and my spy has to be there to do either of these bonuses, I get 1 extra point for my spy, or I get the ability to throw those in. You can also play a card wherever your spy is. In that case, you only get to play 1 card in general. There's an exception, these mercenaries. We'll get to them in a moment. They're kind of wild cards. And you get the point value of the card. If you put it in the wrong color, though, this is a blue-aligned country. If I play this in a red country, I lose 1 off the card value, even though my spy's there and everything. I can play it in my home country. And again, if I play the wrong color card for my home country, so for example, if I play a red card in the United States, I would get -1. I'd only get 3 cards there. I don't need my spy to do that in the home country. All right, let's talk about mercenary cards. Mercenary cards, like I said, they're wild cards. You can tag them along with any other card play and throw as many as you like in, and they will add to the value of that. They don't require your spy to be present. They don't require anything else. They tend to be low value. They don't have any other use except to move cards along. Okay, well, this sounds kind of silly, right? I mean, we're just playing cards and shifting the things. Yeah, it does. That's why there's one more rule, which we'll get to here. When somebody does an influence action, you have the right to block it if your spy is there or if they're trying to attack your home country. And blocking it is a matter of you discard as many cards as you like, and their values add up, and they have to, I believe they have to at least match the total that's trying to be moved. Okay? So you have to completely match the attacker's attempt. Now, if your spy's in the country, you can do it. If it's your home country, you can do it. If you use cards from the wrong faction, for example, if I'm trying to block an action in the United States, this loses a point, just as usual. Mercenaries always have face value. If I happen to match the nation cards, if I happen to have the right nation card for the country and my spy's present, remember, I can't play it if my spy's not present or it's not my home country. But if I happen to match the right country, I get a +1 for that card. So I have a little bit of a better ability to block. But I have to completely match what the opponent's playing down in order to block. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. So there's kind of this, you know, if you can hoard a good attack at once, you might be able to overwhelm a defense that's in place. Otherwise, there's going to be this weird maneuvering. Now, the other two parts of the turn, refilling your hand's going to go up to 5 cards in general. And then moving your spy, you're allowed to fly your spy to any country. And it's this placement of the spy, the kind of game between, you know, whether you're hoarding cards to use for something or spending them at opportune moments or whatever, that gives this any kind of, you know, kind of bluffing, strategic depth and all that kind of crap. Some of the cards are gadget research cards. I think we had one kicking around. There's one. So as its special action, you can play it under one of these, and that'll then give you this bonus. And now they, interestingly enough, have, let me see, where's the gadget? I don't know. So, I don't remember where they state it. Oh, it's in here. So here they say there's 2 types of gadgets in the basic game. Well, I don't see no advanced game in here. But okay. There you have it. That's the core of the game. You win when you have 3 countries. Move to the side. By the way, once you get a cube to here, it can't be moved out of there except by a special action, by the event on a card. So once you have 3 countries secured, and that can be your home country, you win the game. If you secure your enemy's home country, you win the game. That's it. It's an interesting little 2-player, like I said, you know, kind of a filler. Maybe serves as kind of an introduction to the CDG ideas. If somebody's maybe an old-time wargamer or something, you know, if you want to get them moving over to Twilight Struggle and then to some of the other CDGs, this is actually a pretty good intro to Twilight Struggle, to the kind of thinking that you have there to some extent. What it doesn't give you is the geographical thinking and such not, but if you're not used to the particular card play, a younger player maybe who's, you know, not quite ready for the CDG without looking at this kind of mechanism and playing with it earlier, it might be helpful for. But largely, I don't think, you know, it serves too much value as a learning tool. You know, most of the CDGs are going to have a whole lot more beyond this. Getting used to this little mechanism is not a big deal. So it kind of has to stand on its own weight, and we'll see how well it does for that.